Hi everyone, welcome to Living La Vita Loca podcast, a retro gaming podcast for some of your retro gaming needs. My name is Faz.
And I'm Rich.
Happy third birthday, Rich.
Happy third birthday. Sorry, I seem distracted because I'm reading a spreadsheet.
Oh, well, that's because
it's tradition dictates. Could have cake, get spreadsheet.
Special podcast, spreadsheet. It's our third birthday, or at least it was on Saturday, just gone. And I didn't see us necessarily. Well, I don't know what I expected from the podcast or not from the podcast when we started doing it, but we just remember that time we just started doing it and then it just happened. And it's like it doesn't feel like 3 years ago.
Started a podcast.
So we are going to do some fun stuff with the spreadsheet, as Rich alluded to. We are looking at tonight the 10 best. Oh, sorry, keep saying 10, but I've added 2 to it. So 12 best-selling consoles of all time, and we're looking at the 10 best-selling games on those consoles. We're going to try and use that to decide a kind of maybe a champion, almost, if you will. Not necessarily; these aren't necessarily the best games. These are the best-selling games. So the games that made the software that drove the hardware, or maybe the hardware that then dragged the software with it. I don't know. So we have picked the top 10, and then I've also noticed, like, since we were using an infographic, or at least I've picked out an infographic from somebody called Cybertomfire, I think it is. I saw it on Reddit, thought it was really cool. I'll put it in our thumbnail so you can have a look at it as well. And what it'll do is it'll show the top 10, and then I added the PS5 to it and the PSP to it, because the PSP is always, along with the Game Boy Advance, around about 81 million of sales. So it's never really kind of decided which one. I think they just kind of seem to flip, I don't know how that changes, but it does. And then the PS5 has just very recently usurped both of those consoles. If we'll have the discussion in a second, calling them consoles, but the handheld consoles, and that is now slotted in at effectively what is number 10. So I thought we'll add those in. I've used good old Gemini to basically come up with a bit of a bracket sort of versus situation, completely random. And then we effectively will do a knockout bracket, and we'll decide between us which console stays and which one goes, and and can maybe try and give some reasons why based on the games available. So imagine these are the only games that have come out for this console,
right?
Therefore, they're the only that's the menu effectively for that console. So therefore, it's like, right, well, would I keep that over another one?
Got you. Right.
Before we start all that,
I
was going to ask a question. It's probably a little bit. It's not meant to be a deep question necessarily, but how is your journey going for 3 years of doing a podcast on video games? That is
how is my journey going?
Well, so
I'm on the same sofa. I'm in the same place.
Not physically, but has anything changed about you as a video gamer, or anything since you started doing the podcast? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't invest as much time in a single game anymore. Full stop. Like,
I kind of can't, but we could change that. But that is a current process. We don't.
Yeah, so. Because of the rate that we're recording stuff, there's just no time to I'm not able to plan far enough ahead of time. Like I'm very mood based, right?
Yeah.
I would get up of a morning and go, I fancy playing this today, and then time was I would settle in. Whereas nowadays, like, oh, I need to play this for next week, and all that, and like, okay, that's fine because it helps me get through like my backlog and stuff like that. The problem is that you couple that with an urge to buy more stuff, especially with like Steam sales and stuff like that. So that backlog's not going down. If anything, I'm just adding more fuel to the fire. And it's more stuff that I'm not getting through.
£2, £3 games. Yeah. You kind of just go, oh, that seems like really good. I think I got like Alan Wake last night, like for £1.57 on the Xbox, and I'm just like, why? I did not need that, but for £1.57, it doesn't it makes no sense to not have that in my backlog somewhere, floating around.
Like there's all that sort of stuff, and like, so I'm focusing less on any one game. That change was starting to happen anyway during the pandemic, where I was playing more arcade stuff, but it's even more acute now with the schedule that we have and trying to fit everything else around it. So quite often I'll be in that position of like, oh, I kind of fancy playing something, but I'm not sure what I fancy playing, and I know I've got to play something for the podcast, so I should be playing that. And then I do start playing it, and because I'm trying to view it with a little bit of a critical eye, it's exactly the same as when I was at university and I studied media, so lots of watching film and TV and critiquing it.
Yeah.
And it meant that for ages, I just wasn't able to just enjoy a film or a TV show. I had friends that studied English and had exactly the same with novels and stuff like that. So it has changed how I approach them.
Do you feel that same way now? Do you feel like it's a bit of a more like do you enjoy it less because you're critiquing them a bit more, or is it like casual enough to be like, you know, not causing that much of an issue as it was, say, at university when you had to write an essay about it, for example? Or
yeah, it's not quite that acute, but I definitely feel like I'm more sensitive is not the right word. Like I'm more switched on to what I'm liking and not liking about a game than I think I was before. And like it's definitely made me think really, really hard about what I like and what I want to spend my time doing. And that doesn't necessarily always line up with the stuff that I have committed to play, even with like the free plays and stuff like that. Like I don't want to just be playing really, really good games all the time, or the games that I enjoy and think are good, because that would be really dull to listen to. Like I want to cover a range of stuff, but that does mean that I'm now much more inclined to go, I'm not a huge fan of this pretty quickly and just switch off from it. So like it's definitely put me more in tune with my own tastes, I think is the short version of all that.
Yeah. I think they're the hard ones, aren't they? Because it's almost like you say, you actively want to try and do something different or try something different, and it might be you think actually it'd be good to listen to, you know, for a game that maybe not everybody's played, or something where everybody's played and you kind of have a bit of a different take on it and stuff. And it's difficult, especially when you come across something and you kind of go, oh, this is shit, and then you kind of like, how much more do I have to play of this to know, to be able to talk about it,
confidently say,
to actually say, you know, like, I have, you know, a valid opinion to say why that is. They are the tough ones, because like you say, you want to be able to, we want to be able to stretch out that 0 to 10 scale that we sort of set ourselves and say, actually, how many, you don't want to actively put loads of stuff down at the bottom just for the sake of it, but you want to be able to kind of do that whole range of, you know, you can't just do 9s out of 10s and 10s out of 10s all the time, or games that everybody's played.
Exactly. And like, but time was, if I was playing a game and I was bored, I would just stop playing it. Whereas now, I play a game, I get bored, and I have to sit there and go, why? Why am I bored? And then I think, well, actually, that probably means I've got something possibly interesting to say about it. Therefore, it has value. So, like, on the flip side, I do have a new appreciation for the lower end of our scale. Because at least it is making me think about why I'm bouncing off a game, or why it's dull, or why I'm not engaging with it in the way I could or should.
I mean, I personally have kind of like gone a bit of a journey where like I've just gone back to single players so much more than I used to ever, possibly since I was a child, really. And it's just like, not a revelation necessarily, but being able to spend time by myself in a video game world. I hadn't done that for probably about 15, probably since maybe the start of the PS3, maybe. PSP was probably the last time I did that, actually, because obviously that was pretty much a single player experience. It was like when Wi-Fi was just starting.
Yeah, it's about that point where the internet was starting to be able to handle it.
Next door neighbour's internet that I was like robbing to play Medal of Honor Heroes. But so yeah, it's certainly, you know, been an acute period of time for me where it's like 3 years of much more directed time by myself playing a video game, and I've really enjoyed that. It's been good. It's almost like then therefore been for me, and then coming to be able to speak about it as well. Like that's the sharing part that really scratches an itch for me. That is I still have that itch, and that itch is this. You know, it's just like, you know, coming to see you and going, oh, how much want to talk?
A spreadsheet.
Yeah, just being able to talk about it, like, you know, with your friend and like, you know, and other people to listen to it and stuff. So that's been really cool. And it obviously just on that point, just saying thank you to everybody that does listen to the podcast. Again, I know we say this every so often, but it maybe not often enough as well. You know, it's always lovely to hear comments from people saying we're listening in the car, you know, in the van on long journeys and stuff. They're the ones I like the most, because I just sort of like the idea that, you know, you're physically going somewhere with somebody, but also like, you know,
on
like,
a literal journey.
Yeah. I know when I'm like listening to podcasts myself, and it's almost like, you know, you feel like you're sharing the space like with somebody, but certainly for driving for me, and
Yeah, I
you know,
get that.
so
Yeah.
hopefully people get the same feeling from this. So yeah, cool. Right, okay, let's talk some shit. Let's shoot some shit. Right, I'm gonna describe what the brackets are, the random brackets that got picked out. So let's start off with the 12 best-selling consoles that we have in front of us, running from best-selling to worst best-selling. PlayStation 2 and Switch, I know they're kind of like into sort of locked at the moment, and there's lots of bullshit going on with, you know, what actually is the best-selling games console of all time. Let's just say they're kind of, you know, 1A and 1B. So the PS2, the Switch, the Nintendo DS. So noted then that we have included handheld consoles in this, which absolutely it should be. The DS is really interesting because that's not that far away from the Switch and the PS2. Then you get a bit of a jump to, this is where Nintendo do fudge figures, the Game Boy / the Game Boy Color, where they kind of like put them all in together and things. The PlayStation 4, then the PlayStation, the Nintendo Wii, the PlayStation 3, then the Xbox 360, which is the only Xbox, or at least anything that isn't a Nintendo or PlayStation console in here. Then the PlayStation 5 now, and then the PSP and Game Boy Advance, much like the PS2 and Switch, down at the bottom, kind of duking it out with a similar selling sort of 80 million situation. So we've taken them and we've got in front of us 10 games. We'll describe them as we go, I guess. But we have got in the first bracket, we have Nintendo DS versus the PlayStation 2. Two big hitters in terms of how much they sell. We've got the PlayStation 4 versus the PSP. We've got PlayStation 1 versus the Game Boy Advance. The Nintendo Wii versus the PlayStation 5. The Xbox 360 versus the Nintendo Switch. And the PS3 versus the Game Boy / Game Boy Color. So, this is when I say I haven't really thought about this. I'm like, what do we do now? I think let's just go, pairing by pairing?
Maybe. Yeah, just go through the brackets. We'll read out the games. And yeah, if we're taking them as these are the only games that exist on each of these consoles,
yes,
I think my decisions are going to be relatively easy.
Which is fine. That isn't that, because, you know.
Well, holy hell, there was a lot of repetition in these top 10s.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at you, Xbox 360 in particular.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I know. So we'll come to it. That it's shocking actually when you look at the Xbox 360. What is actually the best-selling games? Not the best games, the best-selling games. It's mental.
But I've never seen them laid out like this before, and
like a psychopath would lay them out. Yeah, got it.
Well, yeah, but like it's weirdly enlightening. It really is. Like, you know, like the number of Gran Turismo and GTA games in the PS2 top 10, or the number of Pokemon games in the Game Boy 1, or the number of, you know, like. It's really interesting to see what the obvious franchises are in each of these things.
And if you do get a chance to look at the infographic while you're listening or before or after the podcast, like you'll see it does show you really clearly as well, like how many millions these games have sold, for example. And you can kind of see for like, I think it's like PlayStation 3, I think it is, like GTA 5 is a massive amount over Gran Turismo 5, for example, the next best-selling game. And it's funny because you kind of you do get a real sense of, actually that game really carried that console, like as in, whereas like for the PS4, Spider-Man and GTA 5 and God of War are all kind of locked at sort of 20 million-ish sales. And it's whereas, so you kind of get some big hitters together there. So, right, okay. Do you want to read out the DS games then? Nintendo DS? Yeah, DS versus PS2.
As soon as I find it in the list.
It's the third best-selling console of all time.
Right. New Super Mario Bros. In number 1. Nintendogs. Mario Kart DS. Brain Age. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Pokemon Black and White. Brain Age 2. Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Animal Crossing Wild World, and Super Mario 64 DS.
Cool. So it's funny because I saw some brain training, like is in the charity shop at the weekend. And I was like, and they all three like brain training, even more brain training. That is there, and I was like, they're all £2 each. And I was like, maybe I want them. I never picked them up. I think I've got it on the Switch now. It's like so versus the PS2 then. So we've got Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Gran Turismo 3, GTA Vice City, Gran Turismo 4, GTA 3, Final Fantasy X, Metal Gear Solid 2, Tekken 5, Final Fantasy 12, and Kingdom Hearts. So
see what I mean?
yeah. So
See
what?
I mean
Just
about this
basically
repetition?
Square Enix, Gran Turismo, and Grand Theft Auto, like that.
Plus a couple of other big ones.
Yeah. Like is
Yeah.
it? Yeah, and then one Metal Gear Solid, one Tekken. It's like that's mad, really. Actually, when you do say it out loud, it's like just to think that they are the best-selling console of all time. It's kind of floated by
And those are the guys.
yeah. That's
But
so
hey,
weird.
how cool it is that Tekken's in there.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah,
I like that.
I don't think I've spent any time really with Tekken 5 though. If I'm going to be honest.
Oh,
yeah.
sort that.
Sort
You
your
need to
fucking
sort
self
that.
right
You
out,
need to
sunshine.
sort that. But this is it, right? So, like, I think in theory, PS2 is probably one of the if these were the only games that existed, I think the PS2 10 is one of the ones that I, as I sit here right now, would probably gravitate to quite quickly.
Yeah.
But the problem is that I'm sitting here and I know how that's not necessarily representative of the width of the catalogue.
Yeah,
you know,
of which there are, new. Everyone knows how big the PS2 catalog is. Just like
sports games come to mind pretty quickly. As there's so many of them. But like, I think the DS, like, I never had one at the time. I have no nostalgia for it. I've only played a handful of DS games in the years since. I think for me, the PS2's a very clear winner.
Yeah, I think that I'm seeing this. I'm going to see this as which of these will I take to a desert island? We kind of situation
that's a good way
almost
to do
like,
it.
is it, like that. This is the only thing that's left, kind of thing. And you're right. Like, as in, I've played way more of the PlayStation 2, and I like say I didn't have any nostalgia or own a DS at the time. I do now, and it's sat there on my shelf with all these games available to me actually, and I'm still not quite dipping into them for the podcast and things. It's not as if I think it's easy for me to say now because of the Switch existing, but even then, well, it's probably a bit of a null argument actually. I was going to come up with, I was saying, oh well, actually, like these have all been done better somewhere else, but the same probably could be said for well, maybe not actually for the PlayStation 2 games. You think about, has Kingdom Hearts ever been? I've never played it, but has it ever been as good? Has Tekken ever been as good? Well, we know it has with Tekken 3, obviously, but like, have the GTA series ever been as good as they were on the PlayStation 2? I think that 99 out of 100 people would say no, it isn't. So you kind of think, whereas for the DS, have there been better Pokemon somewhere else? Then you would say probably on the Game Boy. Has there been better Mario Karts? It's kind of like you can. I'm not saying that's the exercise necessarily, but it's almost like in my head, I'm thinking,
yeah,
I've seen them better elsewhere.
Yeah, I think for me, it's basically do I go with the fuzzy nostalgia and the sort of devil of the PS2 and knowing how many of those games I enjoy and have enjoyed for a very long time.
Yeah.
And also knowing that there's a couple of new experiences in there in like Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that versus the DS where there's arguably more like new experiences for me. Like I've never played Nintendogs.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I like Pokemon. Do I like Pokemon that much?
Yeah, three Pokemon games.
Yeah, and
Animal Crossing. It's almost like all the cozy stuff, and then the standard Mario stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think Brain Age does it for me in general. So yeah, I think it's if we're talking the sort of unknown of the DS versus the known of the PS2, and I'm on a desert island, I would very much like a PS2.
Yeah,
please and thank you.
I think that I absolutely battered my PS2. That I think that depending obviously where you are in your video game, your general age and your video gaming age and things like that, like the amount of time that you had to spend with your friends, and also like I guess at home by yourself as well, playing at that time. If you had, say, obviously your PS2 or your Xbox or your Dreamcast and things. For me, that was like the time where I was playing the most video games and had the least amount of responsibility to
it was
to not be doing
spot,
that.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, so yeah, PS2 is fine by me. I think that probably would feel like the most natural fit in there. I'm really enjoying having a bracket. I feel like the FA Cup draw, like, is it? I've
drawn them out of a hat or something to start with.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
We've been here till Christmas.
Well, we've got Skittles. We could write on these. So next up, this feels like it's probably going to be quite a quick one, but I do want to discuss it for a little bit, just because we started our podcast 3 years ago with PSP and PS Vita very heavily in mind, and we've worked away for a lot of the back catalogue. I didn't put the Vita. I thought, our podcast is called Living La Vita Loca podcast. The reason I didn't put the Vita in is because it's so fucking hard to get data. Like, as in that it's credible to know what the best-selling
4 copies.
Yeah, it's just like I mean, I think that I think total of Vita was like 15 million or so. It's pretty like low in terms of actual hardware. So you can imagine the software is even lower, and it's all because you start getting that sort of crossover where Minecraft, for example, is like, starts popping up as a best-selling one, and it's difficult. It's very woolly. So the PSP, is a big hitter. The older brother, sorry, of the Vita. So do you want to read out the PS4 games?
Marvel's Spider-Man, GTA 5, God of War, Uncharted 4, Gran Turismo Sport, The Witcher 3.
Oh no! That's a fucking spelling mistake. In a spreadsheet.
It's
all over.
Oh dear. The Last of Us Part 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, The Last of Us Remastered, and Ghost of Tsushima.
Cool. So, versus the PSP list, GTA Liberty City Stories, Monster Hunter Portable. That's the third. What's that? Is that just called third? The third, maybe? I don't know. That was absolutely huge. I'm learning more and more about it now, and I keep on thinking about putting it on my backlog. But it's like 100 hours, and it's like apparently that just shifted. Like the entirety of Japan bought that game.
Yeah, I've got a few Monster Hunters lined up at some point to get round to.
It's just like when are we going to get time to do
exactly.
it? Maybe that'll be like the last week of the podcast ever. It'll be like, right, we could do the Monster Hunter finally. Gran Turismo. The PSP version, obviously. GTA, Vice City Stories, Ratchet and Clank, Size Matters, Monster Hunter, Freedom Unite, God of War, Chain of Olympus, Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII, Monster Hunter, Freedom 2, 3 Monster Hunter games, and Daxter. Definitely a top 10 rated game on the PSP for me as well. I'm surprised to not see. I genuinely thought there might. I mean, I know Gran Turismo is in there. Gran Turismo is in every PlayStation list. I still thought that maybe Wipeout might have broken in or something like that. Maybe more racing or sports games that might have broken into the PSP one, just because they felt like probably the better, end of some of the games.
I'll tell you what, like I'm also starting to get curious about how many of these we've actually covered across all of these brackets.
Oh, you mean just generally
just
games in general?
Like these top 10 best-selling ones.
But it's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't want to just chat about stuff that everybody already knows about.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you kind of do want to do stuff like, so, for example, when we did the Uncharted series, like that, people listened to that and enjoyed it, but certainly for me, from my point of view, the thrill of that was I'd never played them, and I was like, I'm going to play them all at once, and sort of like have a big glut of it. And it worked out really well for me, because it was like I had a brilliant month of video gaming, of like a brand new experience for me last October, and it's like, I mean, Spider-Man. So I've just played Spider-Man, and we are going to review that. And I think you're doing Spider-Man for the PS2. I think maybe you're looking at in April. Yeah, another one of those circumstances where you're like,
when I get around to putting it under the telly, I will be playing
absolutely,
PS2 things.
Yeah. More Skittles coming out, guys. There we go. Woo. So yeah, I am now just digging through the PS4 backlog, just because I've got the ability, because ever since you donated your PS4 to me, very kindly, I've had the ability to be able to play through those. So in terms, I mean, the thing is, like, this obviously seems very obvious, because you kind of go and think that the PS4 skyrocketed through everything because of its exclusive PlayStation software that everybody loved and thought. I see that list and I go, that's the best-selling list, but it's also probably the most critically adored list, maybe even here in total.
That's an interesting thought.
I mean,
it could be right.
I mean, I've never touched The Witcher, but I never hear, The Witcher is quite an old game now, and yet was that even older than when did The Witcher 3 come out?
God, that's a good question. Not sure off the top of my head.
Was it before that generation?
I don't think it was.
Okay.
The franchise was out.
Yeah. It would have been weird if it started at Witcher 3.
Yeah. It would.
Yeah. So I don't think that's like in doubt. There is a bit more variety, if you will. I guess, almost in the PSP list, but you've got a God of War in there versus another God of War. You've got 2 Grand Theft Auto, games that are in there, and then you've got kind of dominated by Monster Hunter, but you've got the Final Fantasy as well. So I think it's probably high end to nothing though. I can't see the PSP list necessarily defeating the PS4 list.
Yeah, I think
it got a bad draw.
Yeah, I think the PS4 one probably picks it. I mean, like I will continue to have a lot of fond memories of playing PS4 stuff. I think what strikes me about the PS4 list here is like, no wonder we all kind of got tired of open world games.
Yeah,
like
so open.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting bits and bobs floating around in there, but like at the same time, if they're all kind of in the same open world action adventure vein, no wonder we all kind of got a little bit down on them.
Yeah,
they kind of got a little bit homogenous, you know.
Surprised Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't in there, but I guess that again, this is all to do with that was that 20. When was that? 2019? I can't remember now, but it was obviously later in the life cycle of it.
And I guess it's something of an acquired taste.
Yeah,
technically.
Yeah. Oh, you think so?
Oh, it's quite slow paced, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, we think that is the case, don't we? So.
Yeah, and you compare it to something like GTA 5 that has the online bit, and like granted, like Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2 have the online bits and bobs as well, but like GTA Online's still going. Like it's a flipping juggernaut.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is interesting seeing how many of them are like that action adventure open worldy thing.
I am really enjoying this though, because it does like kind of bring to the fore all the little things in your head that you just don't consider about like looking at the top end of video games on these consoles. Right then, PS1 versus the Game Boy Advance. This is an interesting one. I quite like this because I know that you're a big fan of the Game Boy Advance. I think you said it was your favourite handheld, possibly of all time. Maybe not for the software, but certainly for the, for the console itself. So, the GBA, I'll take the liberties of reading that out then. So, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, Pokemon Emerald. God, fucking Pokemon's a juggernaut. Mario Kart Super Circuit. And then this is really cool. Super Mario Advance 2, Super Mario Advance, and Super Mario Advance 4, Namco Museum, Pac-Man Collection, and Super Mario Advance 3.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? So actually, you only have about 3 games in that list.
And some of them are just like remakes of old Mario games. Just put into the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to the PS1 ones?
Gran Turismo, Final Fantasy, what's that, 5, 6, 7, Gran Turismo 2, Final Fantasy 8, Tekken 3, Bow Down, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Crash Bandicoot 2, Crash Bandicoot 3, no Crash Bandicoot 1? Question mark?
I mean, I just, the internet told me this, so.
Tomb Raider and Metal Gear Solid.
Which is interesting to see MGS at like the
down on the
bottom. Just nipped in. So
how much more Tekken 3 would have sold than Metal Gear Solid, which in my head is definitely the other way around.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's almost, you think about that and you say that out loud again, you've got the first 4 spots are just Gran Turismo and Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And then Tekken 3. So well done, Tekken 3.
And yet there is still more variety in that list than the GBA one.
Yeah.
I genuinely think I would be voting Game Boy Advance if there was more variety in that list.
Yeah.
But game-wise, there just isn't.
That's what's weird. I think, obviously, we said this at the time, maybe, as well, when we did the handheld collection all the way back in 2023 in December. I was sort of questioning the length of time or length of service of the Game Boy Advance, how long it was, even though it was an amazing console and well-loved by yourself and loads of people and sold, the 12th best selling console of all time. What was on there from a software point of view felt like, to me, I've not played any of this, and I'm not saying this is definitely the case, but almost you've got Pokemon and then rehashes of old Mario games. That is in good rehashes of old Mario games, but it just.
But there's also some like incredible Castlevanias and some.
I really want to play that collection actually.
Yeah, it's good. And some good RPGs and WarioWare, and Yeah, I mean, like, granted, part of the reason that I love the Game Boy Advance is because of the backwards compatibility with Game Boy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sitting here eyeballing the Game Boy list, going like, yeah, I think that's the stronger list.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm kind of surprised that you've got like 4 Super Mario Advances in there.
I did find that kind of funny when I was typing it out. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, what?
Yeah. I mean, Ruby and Sapphire and Fire Red and Leaf Green, I don't think that's much of a surprise.
Yeah.
On the Pokemon front. But I would be curious about like how much of a drop there is between like, I don't know, slot 1, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and like Namco Museum.
Well, that's it.
know?
Yeah. That's the surprising thing about that. Like, isn't just that to me. And again, it sounds like I am casting aspersions, but it's almost like to think that in your top 10 selling games on a console, you've got 2 collections. You've got a Pac-Man collection and a Namco collection, and it's almost like, is that just the time when for that was the very first, you know, we talked about the Sega Mega Drive collection and the PSP and stuff, that I guess around the early noughties you started to get the old retro collections for the first time on newer consoles or handhelds, certainly.
I would disagree with that.
Okay.
Mainly because I've recently managed to come into possession of an MSX collection for the Sega Saturn.
Cool.
And stuff like that. So like it's yeah, like, and even on the Mega Drive, there's cartridges that collect 3 earlier Mega Drive games. And stuff like that.
Mega Games 1 and
yeah,
stuff like
exactly.
That,
So
fair
like,
enough.
I think it's something that's been kicking around in various forms for a while. However, it is noticeable how dominant they are in the Game Boy Advance list. So like,
maybe putting it in people's laps.
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. You know, these are all games that were on the NES and the SNES, and stuff like that, and I guess the Namco and the Pac-Man ones even earlier, potentially. So like, yeah, I guess there's the novelty of having that handheld that is powerful enough to handle these things.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I think there is something to be said for that. However, that is still what 2/3 of that list falls into that collection bracket, and then the other third is Pokemon. You know, like that
limited in a way,
and then your 10th
really
one
well
is Mario
limited.
Kart.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is the fundamental issue for me.
Fair enough. I think also as well, like, I've been spending more and more time thinking about the PlayStation 1 recently, and how just devastatingly important it almost was for the video game industry. Like, as in, you look at just the way that, and I think I've just heard recently, and I've obviously just been ingesting certain things where I've been talking and listening about the startup, and obviously the fallout with Nintendo and how PlayStation 1 came to be, and just how savvy those people were when they were like, right, okay, this is the future. And it feels like it just, that is the clean break between almost, you know, the gaming. It's like where we had with the same with the NES, like almost, you know, with their saving of the industry in America and things like that. And just, you can just see these really, for me personally, I see these distinct lines in video gaming where it's like, that was a distinct line, and a distinct line was the PlayStation coming into being as well. And then you look at that lineup and you can kind of see why, like, all these games are just, they're still spoke about, whispered in hallways and stuff like that. You know?
I can't go through my hallway without hearing Crash Bandicoot 3 warped. I mean, like, personally, I would be fine without either of the Crash Bandicoots in this list, or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
But that's you're right. And then the rest of it's just doing so much more
the
heavy
rest of it is so good. I'm just like, you know what? That's fine.
Yeah, cool. Right, PS1. So far we have got the PS1, the PS4, and the PS2 have all gone through. So
shit, really? Oh dear.
But I do think that will change, because I think it's just the way the brackets have set up. So this one, the Wii versus the PlayStation 5.
Right.
So, do you want to read out the Wii?
Yeah.
You want to go Nintendo?
I hope you like the word Wii. Wii Sports.
Wii!
Mario Kart Wii. Wii Sports Resort. New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Wii Play. Wii Fit. Wii Fit Plus. Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Super Mario Galaxy, and Just Dance 3. Oh my god, it's literally every single one has the word Wii in except those last three. That's insane. How have I never noticed that?
That's brilliant. So good. The branding for the Wii was just so good. Right, okay. The PS5. So this, I was really interested to find this because I was a bit like, I wonder if this date is kicking about, because data just seems so, even though you'd think it'd be really accurate nowadays, it seems so much more disparate because of the fact that you've got so many more online sales, etc. But this was released October last year, I think it was.
Okay.
So it was like a month after the Ghost of Yotei had been out, and that like did like absolutely massive numbers, amazingly. Yeah. So the PS5 then, so Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which that is one of those games that is significantly higher than any other game on its console. Like it's like so I thought maybe it'd be like on par with other things. It almost like it was like that is the thing that everybody saw as the PS5 game, clearly, with selling. Gran Turismo 7 is big as well, but then kind of still massively off Spider-Man 2. The first time I've kind of seen one of these games on this list, that is in one of these lists. So EA Sports FC 26, Black Myth Wukong, Helldivers 2, Forza Horizon 5, which is just mental to think that it's like, you know, an Xbox game is there. God of War Ragnarok, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Elden Ring, and Ghost of Yotei.
I'll tell you what's even more mental about that Forza Horizon thing. Beware spoilers for the Xbox 360 list. There's no Forza on that Xbox 360 list.
Yeah.
And yet there it is on the PS5 one.
Feels like Forza really kind of got it's, you know, it was kind of like early Xbox One was when they just seemed to like just roll out tons and tons and tons of Forza games, and they were just like everybody was going, you know, crazy for them. That it's certainly Forza Horizon 3 feels like the seminal one that was like, I mean, is that the one when it's in Britain? Is that?
I think that might be 4.
Maybe. I think 3 was the one where I started to stand up and take notice of Forza Horizon. I was like, oh, this looks like what I need to scratch the itch of Burnout Paradise 5 years earlier.
Yeah, I'd previously mucked about with Forza Motorsport on the Xbox 360, but beyond that, I hadn't really. But yeah, Forza 4 was like, ooh, I can bomb around Edinburgh.
So back to these two lists then. I'm just thinking, the reason I'm really interested in this is because it's just two different. This is where the generations, even that it's really weird to me in my head. This feels like literally so far apart from each other in the type of gaming they are. That, you know, that is in the Wii isn't the oldest console on this list. I mean, it's kind of getting there, but it's not like but it feels like, you know, a generation past to me, like almost like, you know, the ghost of the Wii just comes up and looking at all those games to me.
But I think like it's kind of interesting looking at the PS5 list as well versus the PS4 list, and like, hey, we've actually got some variety there. It's not all just open world stuff.
Is there any? There's no rhyme or rhythm to them, is there? There's no sort of trend, I wouldn't say necessarily that goes.
You've got a sports game in there, and you know, here I am sitting banging on about a bit of variety and stuff like that. And like, lo and behold, Wii Sports on one end and EA Sports 26 on the other. So all my sports games have come at once.
It's difficult, I think, because the Wii feels like it's probably dragged down by the fact you've got Wii Fit and Wii Fit Plus and Wii Play and things which don't necessarily. They feel more like, it sounds silly, but almost like early apps,
tech demos.
Like you know, before iPhones and iPods became big, it was almost like, you know, if you had a Wii Fit board, that was like the cool thing to have.
But also Super Mario Galaxy in there, which is a bit good. I'm
so excited about the movie. Like, we've watched the trailer, every trailer like 19 times in our house. It's just like, even Sally is mega excited. She's always enjoyed movies a hell of a lot more than video games, but to see that coming together where it's like, you know, we like the getting into Mario Kart, but now Super Mario Party Jamboree as a family and stuff and things like that.
That's
and
nice.
And you know, Galaxy, it's just that's really exciting to sort of see that. So yeah, the next few weeks will be pretty pumped in the house, I think, until we get to kind of see that. But I think that what do you say really is the Wii riding on the fact that you've got Mario Kart Wii, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Galaxy, almost like, you know, They are big hitters, aren't they? That'll feel like...
Yeah. But as the problem that I've got is I'm sitting here looking at the PS5 list and going like, but actually, if money were no object and I had infinite time,
Yeah.
I think the PS5 list is actually probably more like the kinds of games that I would be buying.
Feels like this isn't a negative way. It feels really decadent. Like, as in, but like, you know, like I'd sit down and, like you say, if money was no object and stuff, and someone just sort of sat down in a really fancy room, like a restaurant, but it wasn't a restaurant. It was just you sat at a table playing a PS5 in a fucking tuxedo, like, you know, with a bottle of champagne. Like, I just feel like that's where we've moved to now. Like,
yeah, I mean, like,
that's middle class Britain.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Like, if we're doing it as the desert island thing, are you going down the route of, oh, but if I've got Wii Fit, then at least I'm getting some exercise.
I've got Wii Fit and I've got Wii Bowling. Like, I can
I
just
might
perfect
get
that shit.
Sand in the board.
Yeah.
How's that going to go on a beach?
How annoying would a Wiimote be? But then also, you know, like, as in kind of like Mario Kart. Like, you can just play Mario Kart forever. Smash, you can play forever. Like, where I don't know, that PS5 list is it. Genuinely, and it sounds ridiculous, but I'm not at this extent, but I do feel like I could drool over the PS5 list. Like, it's almost like in terms of like how well made those games are.
Like, that's the thing, though, isn't it? Like, because I'm sitting here going, okay, right. Like, I would, in theory, be more likely to buy the PS5 list, right? However, I am looking at it. How many of them have I actually bought?
Exactly. Yeah.
No, none of them. You know, I've got Forza Horizon 4 kicking around. Elden Ring, I would be tempted, but I'm just so tired of Souls games. I can't do it anymore.
How do you look at me as a human being when I haven't played a Souls game? Like, do you feel like I'm untainted, or like, is it, you know?
No, I think you've done
I've got a good journey in front of me, or do you think I shouldn't even, like, you know?
It was exciting once,
yeah,
you know, but like now I'm so tired and broken. I just want a nice time.
And that's why we're going to pick the Wii.
Well, I mean, I've got Helldivers 2 has been floating around a wish list for absolutely bloody ages now, and I've never taken a punt on it. But that is high on my list to try at some point.
Well, I want to play the first one for the Vita.
Oh, nice.
So maybe we can.
Oh, maybe that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll go Wii. I think.
Yeah. I think
I'm not confident in that assertion, though. Now I've said it out loud, I think my heart is still screaming PS5. But like, yeah,
I'm going to push you over the waterfall on the, you know, lovely tropical island that we're on. Okay. I think that, and say the Wii, because whilst, like I say, that PS5, you know, that list, I just kind of look at it and just go like you say, money no object. That would just be, I would love that so much and stuff. But I do think that at my heart, who I am, the fucking golden Labrador with massive paws, skittering around, you know, on a kitchen, just looking for a good time, looking to, you know, like just having fun with your friends, just the laughter that you can kind of get out, just some of the dumb shit on the Wii, that is in, you know, Wii remotes flying around everywhere and stuff.
That's what's been bugging me. On this desert
this
island.
Whole time?
No. Are there other people on this desert island? Because that is probably what sways it. If I'm on my own, that PS5 list is definitely more tempting. If there are other people there, that Wii list, I think, wins out.
Let's pretend a banana boat, a party.
Yeah.
A party of
we'll
banana
stop
boaters.
by on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're not quite deserted. It's almost just like, you know, you're kind of probably choosing to be there, actually, at this point.
Right. That's fine. Yeah, all right. Yeah, Wii then.
Cool. Okay, right. Nintendo Wii flying through. It looks like I've put World War II now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
that's a shame.
Yeah. Right, the Xbox 360 versus the Switch. So, I will read out the Switch list, and you can read out the Xbox 360 because I think it kind of stuck in your craw a little bit. Which,
I'm so angry about that list.
I think rightly so. It's hilarious. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Party.
Really?
Yeah, no. And I was also...
Fair enough.
Really? You sure? And then New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, the worst named video game in the history of video games. What do you mean by New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe? That is how is it new if it's from the Wii U? You've kept the fucking Wii in it. Like, is it? Like...
We can't call it re-released Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
How deluxe is this? That's automatically made me angry. But anyway, so
yeah, I think that's understandable.
Do you want to go for the Xbox 360?
Oh yeah,
We've forgotten about it already.
Actually yes. God, this list. Right. Actually, no, hang on. As an Xbox 360 owner...
I'm pouring a drink while you do this.
As an Xbox 360 owner, I really like the Xbox 360. I feel I need to say that before I launch into this list, because frankly, this list is a fucking travesty.
It is, yeah.
This is an absolute state, this list.
This is the first time I felt pretty swaggy about having a PS3 rather than an Xbox 360. Because I was a bit
I don't blame you. The Xbox 360 is far more than this list.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, God. Kinect Adventures.
top of the pops.
Top of the pops. Name me one other Kinect game. I'll wait.
Yeah, no.
GTA 5 again. Minecraft. Oh, God. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Call of Duty Black Ops. Halo 3. Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Skyrim. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. GTA 4.
This list is indicative of why I've started playing my PlayStation 5 a hell of a lot more than my Xbox recently. I think,
yeah,
I get
it. I get it. Like,
'cause it does feel like Xbox. Like, this is
they're just following the money.
Yeah.
Like,
where they've been for like 20 years now, and
we know Call of Duty will sell.
Yeah.
And like, if we had like Call of Duty Black Ops on here and one of the Grand Theft Autos, then fine. But like, Call of Duty is just so dominant in that list. And like, don't get me wrong, I get that it's indicative of the time and it was white hot and all that. I get it. But what else could you have had in there that would have been great? Like Mass Effect or something like that.
One of the Fables.
One of the Fables. Like, there's a lot of stuff that could have been in there.
But people didn't buy them.
But they
bought Call of Duty.
They bought Call of Duty.
Skyrim's in there.
Yeah, I know, but like,
Fighting the good fight. GTA 4,
it just feels like so much like wasted potential. If we're talking about these are the only games you've got,
yeah,
and I only had those, I would have a blast for a couple of days, and then I'd just be like, my God, it's all the same.
Yeah. And it would be very much just a couple of days, especially with the Call of Duty games, because obviously, like, you arrive at you do the single player, and then that'll be it. You just be on the multiplayer, and then it's kind of doing the same thing over and over, wouldn't you? It's like,
yeah, which, like, I mean, I like arcade games. Like, doing the same thing over and over isn't necessarily a bad thing, but like, that's same thing over and over where you can kind of learn stuff. And like, I'm not saying you can't with Call of Duty, because you can.
Hatred. That's what you learn.
Yeah,
anger.
Like, it's one thing doing it in a couple of games in these lists, but having what 1, 2, 3, 4, basically half the list as Call of Duty is just nuts.
It is funny, and that it feels like that's the most depressing of the lists. I think that is in. I don't even think this is necessarily a competition.
No, I don't think it is.
I don't think that the Switch has got like a couple of sort of Pokemons in there and stuff, and it's all very, as you expect, Nintendo exclusive-y kind of stuff. So, but for good reason that the Switch has sold so much that it kind of probably caught the wildfire of being able to have that handheld hybrid console and having really compelling Nintendo first party
and
stuff.
dropping a new Animal Crossing on the cusp of a pandemic when everybody's stuck at home.
It's like almost like. And I think we've mentioned this before on the podcast. It's just like, who was soothsaying on that? Like, as in, I think they had like 47 million sales or some shit. Honestly, that New Horizons and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe are just like blown everything else on the water.
I still occasionally, for reasons that I don't think I'm ever going to fully understand, think back to those memes of, what's her chops from Animal Crossing hanging out with the Doomslayer because, Doom Eternal got released about the same time. And all of the sort of frantic speculation about, like, if they were going to end up in Smash Bros and stuff like that, and like I just smile.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
It's so weird.
That
isn't
was
it?
one of those things where like the world had gone to absolute pieces, and yet there were a bunch of us in that little tiny boat going like, "What if?" And it was not. Yeah.
There are so many. There are so many pseudo. I don't call them pseudo because but almost pseudo happy memories from the pandemic, almost that people made themselves because it was like
those little
that's all you
community
could,
moments.
Yeah, it's all you could do. Yeah, community moments is a brilliant way of putting it. Like, as in, right. Okay, so we're down to our last pairing. This will obviously accelerate a bit more in speed as we go through because we've talked about all the lists of the games. So the last pairing, we've got PS3 versus Game Boy / Game Boy Color.
Yep.
I think this is quite a good matchup, I think, especially when you get down to these lists and you kind of go, oh wow, you got like these are like,
what the hell are we thinking?
Yeah, these guys are hitting. So I'll do the PS3. So GTA 5, far and away above anything else. Grand Theft Auto, that's it, Grand Theft Auto. Sorry, Gran Turismo 5, The Last of Us, Uncharted 3, Uncharted 2, Metal Gear Solid 4, Batman Arkham City, your favourite one, Gran Turismo, SP, which I don't know where that fits in. The sort of like the
a prologue.
Yeah, and then Gran Turismo 6, so 3 Gran Turismo games, and God of War 3. So you've kind of got Uncharted, Gran Turismo, like in there, and obviously and then you've got like games like that are generally considered probably really massive cultural moments in so much like The Last of Us and Grand Theft Auto 5. And then you kind of get you've got your PlayStation staples, Metal Gear Solid and God of War.
I kind of expected The Last of Us and the Uncharted, but I'm kind of surprised that the Gran Turismos are so prevalent. Excuse me,
they just have so much. They're just like there won't ever be a PlayStation without Gran Turismo. Like just every single one of these lists has got a Gran Turismo on there, or one or two at least. It's wild, really. The Game Boy and Game Boy Color,
GBC, Tetris, Pokemon Red, Blue, Green, Pokemon Gold, Silver, Super Mario Land, Pokemon Yellow, Super Mario Land 2, Pokemon Crystal, Dr. Mario, Pokemon Pinball, Wario Land.
So again, a limited list to Pokemon.
You're eating good if you like Pokemon.
And Mario.
Yeah. And also Tetris.
And, possibly one of the most important, possibly the most important video game. And it's certainly from a handheld point of view.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is the thing, like, when we first started, in fact, I probably even said it while we were recording, like, I was looking at the Game Boy list going like, that's quite a good list. And then I read it out loud. It's like, God, that's a lot of Pokemon.
Yeah, it's very, very much the same stuff. That is one of those lists where it's like, you dominated, in my head, if you're just going to reduce it down to something where you just go, right, that's just Pokemon, the infancy of Pokemon and Tetris, almost in a way.
Yeah.
Versus you see it's a bit of a hotbed of almost the start of kind of like the story-led, open worldy kind of
stuff.
Sort of, where I'm going to be honest, I never really played many of those games, when they were there, but
I'm probably more becoming TV shows.
I'm probably more interested in playing them now than I was at the time.
Yeah,
that wasn't my PlayStation 3 experience, certainly. Not in a bad way or anything, but I stuck to different stuff than that. I played Lemmings.
Like for the era, I think this is more indicative of my PS3 and Xbox era. What I wasn't playing from this list on the PS3, I was playing it on the Xbox. He says looking at Arkham City and GTA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
you were doing the right thing. You were playing on the better console the right games, basically.
It would appear so. Yeah, by accident. Yeah. But at the same time, you can't really ignore Pokemon and Tetris.
Trying to ignore Pokemon. It literally, like
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere all the time. Everywhere, like as in, it's just
But I guess
sewn into everything
as well. Like the sales are going to be through the roof as well because like Tetris was huge anyway, and then you get Pokemon as that sort of second wind. I mean, what's your competition at the time? Like the frigging Wonder Swan,
Well,
or whatever.
It's so weird to think about with the Game Boy, where you kind of just have that, like you say, you'll have that massive spike at the start and then a massive spike at the end of it.
Yeah,
just like
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it does mean that when you have that top 10 list, you are missing a lot of good stuff again, like the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I think again, if I'm going to go from a desert island point of view, I'm probably going to take the Game Boy. If I'm going to be honest, like,
you reckon?
Yeah, this might be where maybe split. I don't know, but I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I say, all those PlayStation 3 games now, I'm much more interested in. But I just can't see a world where I'm not playing Tetris and Pokemon all the time on a Game Boy.
Well, I mean, again, like if you go into the practicalities of like, yeah, I'll take the Game Boy games, but I'm playing them on something that I can fucking see.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, assuming that's the case, yeah, I will be quite happy with the Game Boy list, but it is repetitive as hell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens in the next bracket anyway, because I think that it'll be interesting to see the way that it's shook out. So
yeah,
we now have. And this will go quite quickly now because we don't have to go through all the games and everything. We can just kind of sort of, I guess, shorthand it. The PS2 versus the PS4, the PS1 versus the Nintendo Wii, and the Nintendo Switch versus the Nintendo Game Boy. Quite good. 3 Nintendo, 3 PlayStation. You know, there was only 1 Xbox anyway, so I guess it always is going to be dominated by those 2. Let's leave, I think, the hardest one to decide between is the PS2 and the PS4, personally. I don't know if you feel the same way or not. I'm not saying it's like a landslide anywhere else, but I certainly think that from me emotionally, I think that looking at those software lists, that's a toughie. Well, let's do it first. Fuck it. Right? It's not that important. Jesus. Right. PS2 versus PS4. Considering what we've discussed already, is there any talking points that you kind of think you look at those there? You've kind of got a lot of Gran Turismo.
Yeah, I mean,
in a way.
I know I keep saying about the repetition, but it's mainly because it's just a surprise. I think like the PS4 list of games is strong. Like you could play it and you'd be busy, right? But at the same time, it feels to me like as a whole list, even with the repeated entries for like GTA and stuff like that in the PS2 one, the PS4 list on the whole feels more samey to me.
Yeah.
Whereas the PS2 list feels like it's got a bit more variety, even with the repeated entries in it.
I think you can almost like even group it. If you look at the bottom of the PS4 list, Witcher 3, Last of Us Part 2, Horizon, Last of Us Remastered, Ghost of Tsushima, take God of War and Uncharted in there as well. Like Spider-Man, in fact, like you said, they're all just open world
action adventure.
Exactly, yeah, and
exactly.
It's like,
and go find these icons in different places.
Great games, but
sure.
But then, it's
But fundamentally, like when you take away the narrative and the trappings and all that kind of stuff, fundamentally, the stuff you are doing is going to mechanically be broadly quite similar. I feel, whereas the PS2, even though you've got GTA San Andreas, you've got GTA Vice City in there, you have other things you can put in the disc tray and be doing.
Yes.
So I think for me, the PS2 wins.
I don't think I need to add anything to that argument. I probably feel the exact same way. I think, I'd be more inclined to stick to the PS2 list and sort of, I've got a couple of driving games in there. I've got a couple of Grand Theft Autos in there. I've got a couple of RPGs in there. I've got Metal Gear Solid. I've got a Tekken. Like as in, let's go. Let's fly. Right, cool. PS2. Quickly through to the final, even though I thought that would be tough, and it clearly wasn't that tough. The PS1 versus the Nintendo Wii. I see these as partners in a way somehow. I don't know why.
They feel like different sides of the same coin, don't they?
I don't know why. Like as in, oh man, and it almost feels like you kind of get the bump like together. So it's probably sacrilege in a way that I'm calling it that. But Harry Potter and for me, Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3 aren't that incredible. And they kind of like are the negating factor towards the Wii Play, Wii Fit, Wii Plus, like almost like. So you kind of start going right. Tomb Raider versus Super Mario Galaxy, Metal Gear Solid versus Super Smash, like your Final Fantasies versus your Wii Sports Resort.
I mean, you can try. You can try. For me, this is PS1.
Yeah,
all day, every day. Like, no disrespect to the Wii, But just in terms of sheer nostalgia and what I know I would enjoy, were I playing it on a desert island, fucking give me Tekken 3.
When I started lining those up there, I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
this is going one way.
But this is the thing, right? So, like, full disclosure, because we've got Tekken 5 on the PS2 list, if we've got Tekken 3 on the PlayStation list, like, Tekken 5 has Tekken 3 in it.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
We could have had the re-release of Tekken 5 on the PS3 that, looks really nice and runs smooth and all that kind of stuff, but doesn't have Tekken 3 in it. Yeah. But like the point is that
Tekken's going to the island as well.
Well, my point is that it's that there's a couple of very definite high points in Tekken that it's just really interesting to see like how it bears out on the list.
Okay, struggling on a skittle. The Nintendo Switch versus the Nintendo Game Boy.
Switch.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's just too much Pokemon.
I think at this point now, I think it's probably widely accepted. I understand that there will be definitely arguments, and that is just like a generalization and painting it quickly. But
of course,
the Nintendo Switch is probably the best Nintendo console ever released, and they've kind of perfected a bit of a medium. And they're going to see a bubble burst where the Switch 2 isn't as good as the Switch, because the Switch is just the Switch.
So good.
Yeah, it's just like so. And the Game Boy was the Game Boy, but I think that because of its hardware talents, not necessarily because of its software talents,
but as well, like
overall,
you say about the Switch being the Switch. I came to the Switch quite late. Looking at the PS4 top 10 and looking at the Xbox 360 top 10, like I was definitely sitting there with my Xbox 360 and then my PS4 going like, fuck me, games all feel the same.
Yeah.
And looking at these lists, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that's why. The big hitters, are broadly similar. And then Switch comes along and you're like, oh, okay.
Doesn't always have to be the same.
Yeah, exactly.
It might well be, but they're almost all, and I took the piss before, but it's almost like call them all these deluxe versions, but they're Smash Bros. Ultimate. They're all the meant to be the ultimate version.
Bringing them to a wider audience and like update them, snazz them up a bit. And,
almost like the ultimate Zeldas as well. And it's like, you just kind of get to the point where, apart from the Pokemon, which have gone on an inverse curve from everything else, like as in you got the crescendo of a series pretty much on everything, to sort of see, and that sounds silly, but even the Mario Party, for example, like they perfected a formula on the Switch to the point where it's like Mario Party was always good, but now it's like, right, everyone go around,
But I mean, I've definitely got a soft spot for Pokemon Sword and Shield as well. Like I know they weren't like the warmest received ones, but like all the little Britishness and all that kind of stuff, I've got a real soft spot for.
I think that helps, and I think that I found them very easy to sit and play. Like as in there wasn't there was nothing that put me off them really. I know that a lot of people didn't feel like great about the wild area and stuff like that, but I had no problem with it. When I played it, when I got my Switch, it was pretty much the first game I got, almost
same.
in a way. Right, so that leaves us with 3. We're not going to do, facing off, etc., etc. We're just going to try and sort of, from this 3...
Pick one.
Right. So we've got the PS2, the PS1, and the Switch. So again, just trying to round on the game lists, if you will, that we described earlier on. So we'll just quickly jet through them. So PS2, so you've got Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Gran Turismo 3, GTA Vice City, Gran Turismo 4, GTA 3, Final Fantasy, Metal Gear Solid 2, Tekken 5, Final Fantasy 12, Kingdom Hearts. Do you want to do PS1 again? Sorry, just threw you for a loop there.
Gran Turismo, Final Fantasy 7, Gran Turismo 2, Final Fantasy 8, Tekken 3, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Crash Bandicoot 2, Crash Bandicoot 3, Tomb Raider, and Metal Gear Solid.
Cool. And then finally, Nintendo Switch then. So you got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Party, and New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Wank. That it is. I feel like this is almost like, what flavour do you like of Gran Turismo? What flavour do you like of Final Fantasy? What flavour do you like of Tekken?
And do you like Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah. Do you like Grand Theft Auto? And And then, or do you prefer Nintendo games? The best Nintendo games that have ever been produced, pretty much, that now exist now.
I think that is basically what it boils down to. I think for me personally, it's basically PS2 versus Nintendo Switch at this point.
I think that's fair. I'm on board with that. I think so too. That isn't. I think that, especially the GTA, the trilogy factor, tipping it over from the PlayStation.
Yeah.
That if you think that you've kind of probably going GTAs versus Crashes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like, I mean, the Final Fantasy 7 and 8, like, I know they're beloved. I know they're not my favourites.
Yeah.
But then my favourites aren't on this list, full stop.
I'm also more likely to go back to play Metal Gear Solid 2 than I am Metal Gear Solid 1. Even though I like Metal Gear Solid 1, I feel like it'd be, as much riding as there is in that. Like,
Yeah, I get that. I think...
I can do a cartwheel.
I think weirdly, like, this kind of boils down to not only PS2 versus Switch, but also partly kind of like what I said about the DS versus PS2. Like, it's, I think the Nintendo Switch, there's enough stuff on there that I haven't played that, or at least played much of, that I would be having new experiences and distracting myself that way versus that fuzzy nostalgia. Man.
In my heart of hearts, if I'm going to take one of these two lists to a desert island, the only thing that I'm going to play, I think ultimately I'm probably going to take the Nintendo Switch. Not the actual Switch itself, just not even thinking about the hardware either. These 10 games, I think that Super Mario Odyssey is the best 3D Mario out there. The banana boat drops off some people to play some Super Mario Party and some Smash Bros. You can play Animal Crossing with anybody else in the entire world. Mario Kart 8 is the best Mario Kart game for me. The 2 Zeldas. You've got a Pokemon in there, and it's just, denying Grand Theft Auto, some of the best looking Final Fantasies, Tekken 5, Metal Gear Solid 2, Gran Turismo. It's difficult, but I do think that nowadays, if I'm thinking about me in 2026, I'm playing the Switch games more than I am going to play those PS2 games, even though how good they are and how far they've got here in this fight.
I think that's pretty good reasoning. Sorry, the reason I'm talking slowly is I am literally going through head to head on each of these games to try and do a quick tally. And unfortunately, I've got stuck on GTA Vice City versus Smash Bros. Ultimate.
That is a hard
one.
That is a hard one. Yeah.
Gran Turismo 4 versus Breath of the Wild. Oof. I think. Oh God, what do I think?
That is hard, actually.
Really difficult.
When you go on the list and you kind of do one for one, it is hard to kind of go.
I've made this harder for myself.
No. I think I'm more like, it sounds silly and stuff, but I'm probably more likely to play on a one for one basis. I'm probably more likely to play the PS2 games, but then I just.
I mean, the thing is, right? Like, especially with the PS2 games, there's a lot of clunkiness and jankiness that nostalgia is covering up. Those GTAs had their controls rejigged for the re-releases for a reason, you know. But Tekken 5 is so good. It is so good. Is that really the hill I am willing to die on for this?
I feel like you always are willing to die on that hill.
I mean, yes, but
I feel like you can let it go sometimes if you want to. It's okay.
That's the thing.
No one will judge you for it.
No. The reason I'm saying all this out loud is that ultimately, I think, as I'm sitting here trying to process this in real time, I think when you're looking at that PS2 list, I think that is the point that I keep coming back to. It's but Tekken 5.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't think that Tekken 5 on its own is enough to outweigh the rest of that Switch list. But if we're talking about out of these 20 games, which one would I have on a desert island?
Yeah, fair enough.
I think I've just found out that's Tekken 5.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm taking 10, I think it's the Switch list.
Yeah. That's really...
But holy hell, that was a difficult decision.
way harder. In our
Way
brains.
harder than I thought it was.
Yeah, sweating out over it. But yeah, and rightly so, because it shouldn't be a fucking easy decision, should it? So, to take every single one of the best-selling games of all time.
I'm going to play me some Tekken 5.
Whittle it down to just you going, I really like Tekken 5.
I really like Tekken 5.
Rightly so. And I think that is a really, really good point to finish our third birthday podcast on, because if there's anything I've learned about you over the last 3 years, Rich, it's like, I just know that I could just, sit you down for a Tekken 5, but like, he's all right for a few hours. He'll be fine.
Just leave him be.
I'll go for a walk along the beach. He'll be okay there. On that note, thank you very much for listening, guys.
Cheers.
I'll speak to you soon. Bye.